All right, we'll stay in college football and we'll look ahead to some of tomorrow's action. Last week had all types of big matchups, including Georgia and Clemson. Turned out to be a little bit of a dud on the scoreboard, but still a well played defensive battle. And obviously, big college football playoff implications. Plenty of other big matchups as well last week. But this one offers another headliner. Fox has a big noon battle tomorrow. The best non-conference battle of the week this week. You got the Oregon Ducks from the Pac-12 heading to Columbus to take on the Ohio State University. Both teams off to 1-0 starts. Ohio State beat Minnesota last Thursday night. Oregon, I can't remember who they played last week. I guess it wasn't anything memorable, but they'll be in action. And the other big one will be another interconference game. I guess I don't know what they call it, but maybe it's the battle for Iowa with the Hawkeyes playing the Cyclones. Kirk Ferentz and Matt Campbell getting together. Can Iowa State cement themselves as the team to beat in the Big 12? And can they carry the water for the conference like Oklahoma's been doing for them? Or will Iowa build on the success they had last week where they just stomped all over Indiana, who I thought we had some expectations for them, but never mind, which is 6 points. Those are the headlining battles of the week. Drink, feel free to go wherever you want after those two games or do what you do.
Oh, you ain't got to tell me twice, baby. Here's the deal. So, going into Iowa State, first of all, no, Iowa State can't carry the water like Oklahoma. You got to be built a certain way, and I think Matt Campbell only going to be there so long. Matter of fact, this is the one thing I think people got to realize. This whole expansion thing, Matt Campbell might not like this. I wouldn't be surprised if he's up out of there. You remember that, there, Big 12 fans, rah, 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 rah. You're getting smoked by Iowa this weekend. Smoked.
What was Iowa State before Matt Campbell? They were a joke too, I believe.
Yes, they was the equivalent of Kansas. Like, I don't remember nothing they was doing before Matt Campbell.
I don't think
let's be real.
I think it took like years for me to even learn that they were the Cyclones.
Right. Yeah. Where the rest of college football about to blow right past you, there, Cyclones. When Matt Campbell is gone, so is your identity. You're out of here, folks. You that blurred out guy in the documentaries that don't want anybody to know his identity. Oh, I was there.
They blur his voice.
Yeah, and it was really scary. It was really scary. Like that's Iowa State when Matt Campbell leave. But to your question, Iowa gonna smoke them. They're gonna beat them by 20 plus points. Here's the deal. First of all, the Big Ten to me is a more superior conference than the Big 12. Let's just call it what it is. Secondly, Kirk Ferentz is actually throwing the ball this year, folks. He might just be more than a bar of soap this year. It might just be that he's actually got a squad, down in Iowa. And let me tell you something. I'm here for it because I've been waiting on this. Because he's been doing the bare minimum since I even knew who he was. And he keep getting contract after contract after contract. First rounder after first rounder after first rounder. And now he finally got a team where I can say, this team going to have first rounders and they're going to look like a team with first rounders. And Kirk Ferentz going to finally get some flowers this year. Not saying he's going to beat Oklahoma, but I am saying he'll beat Iowa State. Not Oklahoma. Not saying he won't be. He will beat Iowa State, but he will beat Iowa State. So anyway, Oregon, Ohio State. This is a very interesting game. I don't even know how exactly to look at this because before the Thibodeau injury, I was like, yo, Oregon gonna give them some problems. I hear that Kayvon Thibodeau might still play, but even if he plays, he won't be the best player on the field no more because I don't think he's not gonna come out there 100%. You don't just get a high ankle sprain or whatever and then come out the next week in today's college football and be the stud. Now, before he got hurt, I thought he would have been the best player on the field. That dude he is going to be the number 2 overall pick, number 1 overall pick, something like that. This kid is the real deal, folks. But with him hurt, I don't know. Now, the question remains now, usually when Ohio State plays teams, it's like, all right, your first 11 probably can match our first 11, but can your next 11 match our next 11? And that's usually how teams like Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson usually, Oklahoma. That's how teams like that end up wearing teams down because your roster 1 through 22 might match their roster, but number 23 through 128 probably ain't gonna match. And that's how they're gonna wear you down. That is the advantage Ohio State usually have over their opponents. With Oregon, it's a tad bit different. Oregon is one of the few teams that I think talent-wise, they can play with Ohio State. The problem is that last week game did some damage to Oregon that I'm not quite sure they will be able to bounce back fast enough to really like keep themselves in the game. I kind of equate this to being something similar to what Ohio State dealt with last year. They come out here, they make some mistakes, they don't be looking as crisp, because Oregon does have a way better defense than Minnesota. Let's go ahead and get that right now. They gonna play some guys on Oregon defense now. This ain't. I couldn't name one decent dude on the Minnesota defense, to be honest with you. Oregon is gonna be a few guys, and like I said, if Kayvon Thibodeau was not hurt, he would be the best player on the field for both teams when he played. That's how good he is, but he won't be. So now I'm just curious to see, can Ohio State do the same thing that they was doing against Minnesota? Is this wide receiver core just as good as people advertise? Can they break away from other like elite cornerbacks or defensive players in general and be wide open like they was against Minnesota? I'm curious to see that. Vegas got it 14 points by Ohio State, which tells me like they're like, hey dude, we hear what you're saying, but this game in the fourth quarter is going to get blown open. And I kind of agree with that when you're talking about the depth. So with that said, I'm gonna take Ohio State, but I don't think it's gonna be 14 points. I'm taking Ohio State by like 7. I do think they do enough to win the game, but I think Oregon gonna open some eyes up and say, hey man, show us some respect over here in the Pac-12. I'm gonna take. I would take, because Ohio State. Let's keep it a buck too. They defense ain't talking about nothing past that defensive line. Those linebackers ain't. Listen, that ain't it. Those corners ain't showing me nothing either. That secondary ain't showing me nothing. So I'm gonna take this 42-35 Ohio State, and then and then I ain't even say Iowa. Yeah, Iowa winning by 20. I'm gonna take that one. I'm gonna take that one probably 35 to 17. I'm just not sold on Iowa State. Until they show me something, I'm just not behind it. A couple of other games I wanted to hit on. Upset alert, baby. You heard it here first on the Drink of Wisdom. UAB going down to Georgia. No JT Daniels. I forgot the starting right guard name. Forgive me, Georgia fans. You ain't got him either. Your best pass catcher is your punt returner. I don't know. I don't know. It's looking a little iffy. And now listen, I would say this. Georgia defense is good enough to win them this game. But what I think is UAB's defense is decent enough to cause turnovers to give themselves the ball and control the time of possession in this game. Upset alert. I got UAB beating Georgia in Athens. Or is it? I think it's in Athens by a field goal. I'm looking at this as another low-scoring affair. All right. But I'm going to take this probably 17-14 UAB. That's my upset alert. Another game I want to talk about, Texas and Arkansas. I think people sleeping on this one because Arkansas ain't really been doing nothing but stinking up the joint lately. But Sam Pittman got these guys playing confident football. And they might have the best cornerback in the nation. God, I say all that and then I draw a blank on his name. but he's number one. His number is number one for Arkansas. This guy's good. He's gonna lay the boom. And the thing about Texas is this: the best part of Texas is their running back, Bijan Robinson. I do think Arkansas can clog up that line enough to slow him down, and they're gonna make the Texas quarterback play some ball. And like I just said, they got probably the number one corner coming off the board this year in Arkansas. If not, he's definitely coming out the board in the first round. And I think that can give Texas a lot of problems. I think that game will be close, but I do have Texas winning. That game strikes me as a 45-42 game because I'm not overly impressed with Texas defense, and I do think they're going to come in there sleepwalking. Arkansas going to catch them by surprise, and this game is going to be a lot better than what the experts think. And then, last but not least, let's talk about this unranked primetime ABC game, the Michigan Wolverines versus the Washington Huskies that just lost to, you said Yellowstone?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yellowstone?
Because it's Montana. Yeah. I guess Jim Harbaugh better win that one, huh?
Do you know in national parks you can't even do anything with none of the animals because they are protected under a certain regulation and law? And you just lost to a team.
Probably got to wear masks there too now.
Why not? Michigan need to wear a mask over their whole face. I'm about tired of Jim Harbaugh. Listen, you've been living off your laurels there, Jim Harbaugh. But if you go out here and lose to Washington, they need to fire him during the season. I don't want to hear we're going to wait till the end. No, he don't win this game. He's never going to win a game that matters if he don't win this game. He got to go. I'm not even a Michigan fan. You see what it is over here. But if he loses this game, he got to go. That's bar none. He's out of here. So I think that game is intriguing just because Washington has nothing to lose here. We don't give a rip about what Washington got going on anyway. This game is all about Michigan. All about Michigan. It's a primetime game because you're Michigan. It's a primetime game because Jim Harbaugh coaches Michigan. It's a primetime game because Michigan is located in the Big Ten Conference. None of this have anything to do with Washington. None of it. None whatsoever. If Michigan lose this game, Jim Harbaugh back your bags. You're out of here, baby. All right, Jay, what you got?
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. I'd say the Oregon-Ohio State game, I'd say the 2 touchdown spread is kind of eye-opening. I mean, you think best team in the Pac-12, best team in the Big Ten, maybe Vegas would see that one's a little bit closer. I think you see it a little bit closer. I think the thing I'm most interested in that one, because I've seen Ohio State. I saw Ohio State against Minnesota. You saw that one as well. How does C.J. Stroud look in his second start? In the first start, there appeared to be some jitters. He said as much after that game because the first half he was not very impressive. Second half he was a lot better. So do we get a complete performance from him? And I think if you do, and he plays the entire game as he played in that second half, I think I would believe that Ohio State will win the game, and maybe they do win the game by multiple scores. Haven't seen Oregon yet, but Oregon struggled with Fresno State in week 1, so not the best omen as we move into week 2, but we'll see. Iowa and Iowa State, not quite sure what to do with that, but maybe you on to something. Maybe this is the year Kirk Ferentz, come back into play. He's got I was just looking. I think he's got 2 New Year's Six bowls on his resume. A Rose Bowl loss back in 2016, I believe it was, and then an Orange Bowl win back in 2009. So he's been he's done a few things, but it do seem like more often than not we're looking at the old 8-5 thing that he does. So, but I mean, look, I thought it was impressive what they did to Indiana in week 1, 34-6. I mean, that's a statement victory. So, what do they do against Iowa State in week 2? Who, Iowa State got the feel of like they just play around too much early on in the season. Like that, like what are you doing? Like, can you like get this team that you set up as being like the practice run and like run them off the field like you're supposed to? No, not really. So I mean, we'll see. Like, I mean, I think you may be onto something there about Iowa just mopping the field with them, So we'll see. I do say like I think that Washington Michigan game that is all about Michigan. It is all about Jim Harbaugh. Come on, khakis. We gotta start moving. This is Michigan. It feel like they just like slipping more and more out the conversation. Because you notice how when we talk about the Big Ten now, we're talking about Ohio State, obviously, but then it's Wisconsin and Penn State. Then it's Iowa. Iowa's in there. Minnesota, that we be trying to slide them in there some. Indiana last year. Like Michigan's falling more and more by the wayside. So I'm going to need them to get back in here. I was just looking at their schedule. When you look at college football schedules, typically like games more than 2 weeks down the road, they be like TBDs as far as the times. Michigan's last game of the year, it's going to be big noon because it's Ohio State and Michigan. I don't want to see Michigan in like prime time or like big scenarios when every time we see Michigan in a big scenario or a big game, they stink. They're not worth watching. So I really hope, and again, Washington, after what they did against Montana, I'll say the actual school name, not be disrespectful, but after what Washington did against Montana, there's no reason for like us to believe in anything they have going right now. So I think Michigan needs to come out there and win this game. The other one I'm interested in, because Texas A&M, I think among teams that are kind of like, we kind of, at least at the start, we see them as playoff contenders. We saw pretty much all of them last week against somebody that kind of matters. A&M played Kent State, I believe. So this will be their first actual kind of like real game, so to speak. No disrespect, Kent State, but they get Colorado on the road. So Pac-12, I get it, but that's a Power 5 school. So how do they stack up? What do they look like? Jimbo Fisher had them just on the outside looking in the CFP last year. So I am somewhat interested in seeing how they look.